Brands Hatch for the third round of the 2012 GT Cup Championship season. With 2 events already complete, it's clear that it's going to be anything but a predictable season. In just 6 races, we've already seen 12 different group winners on the top step of the podium. Today we've got a packed out programme with 3 races to enjoy, so let's head down to the paddock and see how qualifying went.
We unfortunately had a red flag quite early in the session, so lost a bit of time, but able to get back on it. Went a bit quicker than testing yesterday, so that was good. I think there's still more time in me and in the car, but the car was fantastic. I ended up class pole and P4 overall, so I'm going to be happy with that. Just a case of get my head down now and turn it into a good result in the race. So yeah, happy.
Me and all the boys have put in a lot of hard work this year so far. Finally, it's starting to pay off, so looking forward to the rest of the weekend's racing now.
We certainly seem to, at the moment anyway, have the right conditions. What if it does rain? Will that pose you any problems, or do you think the car really is sorted now?
We think it really is sorted now because we had a bit of wet testing yesterday. We had 1 session, so when we seem to go quite well still. So fingers crossed. I would prefer it to stay dry because obviously it's a bit of a handful in the wet, but good. It's all good fun anyway.
We've just been out for qualifying. How did that go?
Bit slow, but then we haven't driven the car for 18 months, so not much more to be expected really. Looking forward to having a race this afternoon.
Yeah, because it's been a while since you've been out in the Mosler, so I bet it's going to take a bit getting used to when you get out there again.
Yeah, probably, and I've never driven it with Pirellis on it, so yeah, it's going to take a bit of getting used to, I think.
Cars then lining up for the first race with Jordan Witt in pole position, Derek Johnston alongside them on the front row of the grid, and Kevin Riley in third. Pete Smallwood heads up the Group 2 runners, and away they go on the rolling start, and Jordan Witt has pulled the pin and disappeared into early. He's bringing Derek Johnston though with him for company, so the 2 Group 1 cars streaking clear of Pete Smallwood in third position, the Porsche. But this is good showing in the early stages from Derek Johnston, who won at Donington at the start of the season, let's not forget, but that was in very wet conditions. He'd dearly love to get a dry win. Jordan Witt, however, in pursuit of his maiden win in the 2012 GT Cup Championship, but he did win on the Brands Hatch circuit last year, and he leads the way now through Surtees for the first time. Absolutely gorgeous car this, the Chevron. Jordan Witt looking to try and streak clear of Derek Johnston in the early stages, but Johnson though keeping him honest as the pair of them accelerator out the Clark curve on to complete the first lap of the race. And it's Jordan Witt who leads through the agile and nimble Chevron, just beginning to pull away a little bit from that Ferrari. Johnston though pushing very hard, the former Radical champion and a driver who would dearly love to win the GT Cup Championship. Here's the fight for third, and it's Pete Smallwood who leads it just ahead of Dan Stringfellow. So it's a Group 2 car versus a Group 3 car, but Dan Stringfellow taking advantage really of the short Brands Hatch GT circuit. It's one of the few circuits in the UK where the Group 3 cars can mix with the Group 2 cars, but not if you keep driving like that, sliding the rear of the car there. Dan Stringfellow, he's clearly very anxious to get onto terms with Pete Smallwood, and he's pushing very hard in these early stages. Dave Shelton, there he is in the nose. He's not been in the car for 18 months, but at the moment he's going well. He's just in pursuit of Dave Witt. Then he's got Chris Bentley as well on his tail. Look at this battle now for third in the race, because Dan Stringfellow is asking the questions on every corner. Although, is that a little bit of smoke, I wonder, from the rear of the BMW? But he's got a good run on Smallwood, coming through Paddock Hill Bend, up the hill towards Druids. Who's going to get it? And Pete Smallwood just moves across, covers the line, then slithers a little bit wide, leaves a BMW's width, sliding the car again, Dan Stringfellow. This is good driving, though, from Pete Smallwood. He's doing all the right things. He's putting the car on the inside of the circuit. He's making, as a result, Stringfellow have to do it the hard way and try and find a way around the outside of him. Still, that smoke continues. At the moment, though, doesn't seem to be really affecting Dan Stringfellow's performance as he looks to the outside at clearways. No way through there. Then tries the switch back through Clark Curve again. Good driving from Smallwood. He just doesn't leave that car's width on the inside. He makes it impossible as a result for the BMW to get through. And this is what the GT Cup Championship is all about. Multi-mark racing. The Porsche versus the BMW in pursuit of the Chevron versus Ferrari battle. So 4 different marks in the top 4 places as they climb up the hill towards Druids. And Smallwood again has to go defensive. Stringfellow tries to draw alongside him as they turn through Druids. Super scrap this as they come down the hill to Graham Hill Bend. And still Dan Stringfellow is struggling to make this move here. He's finding Pete Smallwood is driving a very, very wide car indeed as they then jink through Surtees And although Smallwood's got the legs in the straight line, he's really not pulling away through from the BMW through the corners. And again, Stringfellow has got a super run through clearways, and this is his best opportunity of the race thus far. He prizes that inside opening along the Brabham Straight. They almost lock wheels as they accelerate along, but Stringfellow goes through up into third position, and that is a brilliant move from Dan Stringfellow. It's been several laps in the making. He finally forced Pete Smallwood to make the error through clearways and was able to nip up the inside and snatch third position away from Pete Smallwood. So now that Dan Stringfellow's in third, can he pull away from the Porsche of Smallwood? Going back to the next group of cars battling, and it's Dave Shelton who's got a run here on David Whitten. He's going to go through, so Shelton gains the place, and that puts him up into fifth position. But David Whitt almost immediately looking to fight back. We've got David's son Jordan homing in the background, the race leader. So it's the Chevron versus the Mosler. So scratch that, it's now 5 different marks in the top 5 places. What a fantastic race this is turning out to be, with now Derek Johnston taking his turn to try and pick his way through this scrap. Dave Shelton backs off very early to let Johnston through, and that could give David Whitt an opening here. David Whitt could get a run because Shelton was very slow through clearways, and through goes David Whitt. Nicely done there by David, who poaches the place. Dave Shelton immediately looks to fight back. The Mosler should have the straight line advantage on the little Chevron, you would think, but David Whitt wants to fight this out through Paddock Hill Bend. He draws alongside as they plunge down through Paddock, then climb up towards Druids, and Dave Shelton finally makes that move stick, although he slithers a little bit wide at Druids. And let's not forget Chris Bentley, who's homing in the background as well. So it's these 3 cars fighting for 5th, 6th and 7th. It really is to and fro, because the Chevron and the Porsche has got the speed through the corners, then it's the Mose that's got the advantage on the straights. Through Surtees they come, and again David Whitt closing that gap down on Dave Shelton. He just misses the apex a little bit through clearways, and that now leaves him a little bit vulnerable, possibly to attack from Chris Bentley. Another lap reeled off then by the Mosler of Dave Shelton, and David Whitt in hot pursuit, and then Chris Bentley down through the gears and sliding through Paddock Hill Bend. David Whitt, though, maybe just feeling this pressure of the race. He was slightly off the apex there at Paddock, and again at Druids he's just not quite nailing those apexes in the Chevron. It means that he's not able to put quite the pressure onto Dave Shelton that I think he'd be liking to do. Dave Shelton has to be so cautious in that Mosler, because when he plants his right foot, the power delivery really is quite spectacular. Derek Johnston then in second position. There's the other motor in the race, Kevin Riley. Kevin unfortunately popping into the pits earlier in the race, so he's really circulating very, very quickly, but unfortunately a couple of laps down. Kevin, though, has been on the podium several times this season. Let's get a replay, unfortunately, and that's Dan Stringfellow pulling off out of third position. So Stringfellow out of the race. That is going to promote Pete Smallwood to third, as through clearways for the final time comes Jordan Whitt to score what will be his first victory of the 2012 season, the GT Cup Championship, and he does it in fairly emphatic fashion in the end. It was a nip and tuck battle throughout with Derek Johnston. He's able to build up that gap in the closing stages, and it is then the race win for Jordan Whitt. So he receives the acclaim of the crowd and the marshals. Let's take a check of the results. So the win for Whitt from Johnston and Smallwood. Dave Shelton fourth, David Whitt fifth, and Chris Bentley completes the top 6. Very entertaining race there. As a result, the drivers get the spoils of victory on the podium.
Well, Jordan, first pole and now the first win for the Chevron. That must feel good.
Yeah, it does feel good. You know, like I said before, over and over again, all the hard work of mine and the teams just all coming together finally. Fingers crossed for the next 2 races now.
Yes, you've got it all to do now. You've done it once, you've got to keep it up. Do you think you can?
Hopefully I can, but by the sounds of Derek, he's obviously wants to push me all the way, so we'll have to see what happens.
It's a busy 3-race weekend, so straight into race 2, and it's Jordan Whitt in pole position, Derek Johnston alongside him on the front row of the grid, Kevin Riley in third, Dan Stringfellow should have been fourth, but unfortunately those problems from race 1 means that he's a non-starter this time around as the cars form up for the rolling start. They're ready to go, and who's got the jump from the light? It's a brilliant start from Derek Johnston, who leads into Paddock Hill Bend around the outside, but he slithers wide, and Jordan Whitt's going to edge through here and snatch the race back from Derek Johnston. Johnston tried so hard to lead into Paddock, he couldn't quite do it, so it's Jordan Whitt, the the race winner, who snatches the early advantage from Derek Johnson with Kevin Riley in third position in the Moser as they plunge down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. And Derek Johnston really asking the questions, isn't he, in the early stage of this race. He's right under the rear spoiler of Jordan Witt in the short sprint along the Cooper Straight into Surtees, and then on towards Clearways and Clark Clerved to bring the first lap of this 25-minute race to a conclusion as Johnston plants his right foot in pursuit of the race leader Jordan Witt. And Witt, well, it's a slender advantage, isn't it, coming through to complete the first lap, and Derek Johnston is right onto his tail. The Ferrari able to close up on the chevron along the Bramham Straight, and as they dip down through Paddock Hill Bend, Jordan Witt just able to open up his advantage. Great shot there into the cockpit of both cars. You can see Derek Johnson really working the wheel through the hairpin at Druids, and that has enabled him actually to close right onto the tail here of Jordan Witt, and Jordan Witt having to work very, very hard in these early stages, because if he was to make the slightest slip, then Derek Johnson would be through like a shot. The gap between them only about 2 car lengths as they jink through Surtees, all the while though pulling away from Kevin Riley in third position. And into Clearways, absolutely beautiful sight, these 2 leading cars. Very, very spectacular machinery as they accelerate along then, with Jordan Witt leading it from Derek Johnson in second position. Then third place it's Kevin Riley in the Moser. He is pulling clear of the Group 2 leader, and that's Pete Smallwood in the Porsche. Then it's Dave Shelton, Chris Bentley it is, who leads Group 3 with David Witt and Peter Rowbottom going well. Peter, good to see him having a nice tussle. We're off for a break. Join us in a couple of moments' time for the end of race 2.